As a reporter and anchorman, CBS's Walter Cronkite connected with viewers in profound ways. He was at his best even when the news was the worst, like this memorable broadcast November 22nd, 1963.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. Vice President Lyndon Johnson has left the hospital in Dallas, but we do not know to where he has proceeded. Presumably, he will be taking the oath of office shortly and become the 36th President of the United States.
Joining us by phone, former CBS congressional correspondent Roger Mudd, who often sat in for Walter Cronkite on the CBS Evening News. And Lesley Stahl joins us from Africa. She was CBS's White House correspondent during the Cronkite era and beyond. Good morning to the both of you.
Morning.
Hello.
Roger, let me ask you first, that moment, why do you feel that moment is just so ingrained in American history now?
Well, it reflected that Walter Cronkite felt the same way so many Americans did, and I think we all identified with him. All of us, when that moment came, cried privately, publicly. But for someone on the air who was watched all over the world to show that emotion, when the tradition that he had established was not to show emotion, that was a quick peek into Walter's character and stability.
Lesley, his colleagues called him Old Iron Pants because of his marathon coverage of political conventions. To be a political reporter in Walter Cronkite's day, describe that for us.
Well, first I'd like to say that everybody called him Uncle Walter. Everybody who watched him, and those of us who worked with him, he was very much the leader of our team. And not just for politics, obviously every convention and every election night, but for every big story. And we wanted to please Walter. I'm sure Roger would agree with me. If Walter was happy, we were happy. And if he was unhappy, we heard it. He inspired us as much as he did the rest of the country. I think he just was universally respected. And presidents, by the way, feared him because if Walter... you may have already had this on the broadcast, but if Walter turned against a policy, as he did in Vietnam, or he did with Watergate, when he as much as said on the broadcast that President Nixon was probably involved, that really affected the rest of a term for a president. So he was powerful, but he was fair and just essentially likable as a human being.
Roger, talk a little bit about his authenticity, because we look at that moment, we were looking at that moment from the moment when President Kennedy was assassinated. There was no veneer here. This was not, this was, you saw the actual person night after night after night.
He was so reassuring and made us feel comfortable as viewers. And when you watched him, you knew we were in good hands. He was in control of his broadcast. And to work for him and with him, as I did and Lesley did for 20 years, enabled all of us to say with pride that we were television journalists. We weren't blow-dried guys, and even the skeptical press had to admit that CBS was the best there was. Walter was unlike any of his competitors. He wasn't flip like David Brinkley, or ponderous like Huntley, or even stylish like Reasoner. He was straightforward, simply steady, crisp, and reliable. And for those of us in the Washington Bureau, as Lesley knows, Walter Cronkite was our god, because he thought Washington was the center of news in America. And he resisted time and again others in New York who tried to move the story out of Washington. So for us in the Washington Bureau, he was our protector.
Roger Mudd, Lesley Stahl, thank you for sharing your memories.
Thank you.